The strange man discovered that the body that had been dead for a week was still warm. The next second, they were ambushed by these monsters. A large number of corpses in the surroundings area also came out from the ground immediately, ordered to form a formation to protect the enemy king. From all directions, they slowly approaches to surround them. The ferocious monster brandished 2 sickles to challenge Hakuin. Facing the sturdy enemy, Hakuin showed no fear. He put on the lion's helmet and accepted the challenge. He silently broke an arrow hidden in his hand when the enemy rushed toward. Even though they defeated the enemy leader and gained absolute morale, they saw Hakuin cheating behavior. The determined monster all made a suicide charge and rushed from all directions. Hakuin brought along a few friends. The defenders of the formation tried their best to kill the enemy, but as more monsters rushed into the formation, the scene became extremely chaotic. Although the Hakuin appeared extremely brave, they still could not stop their determination to break the formation. Seeing that the shield wall had been broken, the king was in danger and had to send out to fight. Mfuk was ready to bring the man to the battlefield. He opened the blades on both sides and kept raising his neck. The monster were on both sides of the road. Very quickly, they used this high techniques to turn the situation around. All the enemies in front of the battle formation were completely destroyed. Their suppressive attack forced the remaining enemies to hastily retreat. Although the army had won the battle, the army was also damaged. More than half of the enemy they actually had to face was the Sagittarius army, who never appeared, just standing in the distance through the smoke and fire, watching the battle. After looking at it, they slowly followed smoke and disappeared from this pathetic war. The king was extremely self-reproached, deeply aware that he should not send soldiers who had not been properly trained to the battlefield. Finally, the king agreed to give Hakuin more time to train his soldier. Hakuin also promised that before the next battle will definitely train them to become standard soldiers. At night, Hakuin came to a strange dark forest. He discovered corpses here were piled like mountains. While in a daze, he suddenly saw his wife and children lying there. Suddenly, a hungry 3-headed wolf came out and ate Megur's body, with its mouth full of blood. Rushing towards him, he risked his life and rushed out to take revenge. When he opened his eyes, he discovered that he had been in an illusion since awakened. Hakuin, who killed his wife and children, felt extremely self-blame, even after so many years. The tragic and painful scene was still fresh in his memory. In the following days, he devoted all his energy to training his friend's soldiers. Others also Hakuin to become spearmen, thereby making combat techniques fully developed, enhancing the soldiers' combat capabilities, and their carrying wall-building techniques were solid and unbelievable. For many days after all the attacks, soldiers who have been trained to become standard soldiers again lead the fierce army to the scene. Their goal this time is to defeat the legendary Centaur army through many days of non-stop marching. Finally saw the Sagittarius army. The Sagittarius was hit for real. Following the sound of the horn, countless Sagittarius soldiers rushed towards them like broken nests, but looking closely, they weren't Sagittarius at all. They were all soldiers riding horses. Due to the fear gave birth to the illusion of Sagittarius. Hakuin immediately ordered the construction of a heavenly wall to prepare for battle. Through systematic training, this branch of the army was completely different from before when facing the enemy aggressive attack. Calm to Hakuin, the older for the Mythical army on both sides to use bows and arrows to attack, suddenly caught the enemy vanguard in time and then fired a hail of arrows to kill the enemy rear soldier who were still waiting for them to rush in front of the enemy army, which had lost half. Seeing the enemy miserably fall into a lower position, the shield and spear team advanced step by step to face the enemy rain of fiery arrows. The soldiers quickly used their shields to gently dodge. In addition to Hakuin's heroic performance, the defeated enemy friend continuously retreated back, but the enemy leader did not have the heart ride his war horses alone and rushed to the king to counterattack, resulting in his being killed. Hakuin turned both man and horses upside down this time and achieved an overwhelming victory. The people raised their first and quickly welcomed King Haihon. With the enemy leader chained and handcuffed to the royal palace, they were insulted by the soldiers. It's so humiliating. Hakuin can't see anymore before coming out to stop their actions. The enemy doesn't understand why Hakuin helps these powerful people fight. This sentence makes Hakuin feel extremely suspicious. For a moment, he couldn't judge whether he was doing the right thing or wrong during the victory celebration. Hakuin, sure enough, he discovered something was wrong. He saw the princess eyes looking at the chained enemy and felt compassion. There must be a hidden secret that no one knows, so he found the princess to tell her the truth. It turned out that this king was the real invader. He used the princess' son to threaten and force her to trick her. Hakuin came here to help and find out the truth. Hakuin was angry and went to find the king to confront him as the real invader. But the king was surrounded by many people and was not afraid of his brother, saying that Lin was a mercenary and had no way of judging people, hired him, then gave them the equivalent of a prisoner, then led them out of the place. On the way out, he saw the desperate eyes of the people and fell into deep self-blame. If not managed, it would be difficult to imagine the people. What kind of life will he have to live here? Through the struggle of ideas, he decided to stay and prepare to overthrow the brutal rule of the king. He was so aggressive that he pushed open the big door of the royal palace to defend him. Seeing clearly the situation, his life was ended by an arrow. As soon as he entered the main hall. Several people were surrounded by soldiers. The king had already guessed that the Hack Quain would turn around and turn his head. There were many people on the other side. Strength Hack Quain had to put down the weapon in her hand. Then the general hit him with a stick so hard that he fainted, waiting for him to wake up. He was chained and locked in the dungeon. While in a daze, he saw 3 wolves opening their mouth, baring his teeth and rushing to bite him. A familiar voice rang in his ear. It turned out to be King Eris, who had sent him out of Athens. Before, he had already allied with the old king. They allied their army to prepare conquering all of Greece. Seeing that Hack Quain had no strength to resist, King Sin did not hide it anymore, telling the truth that he had planned to kill his wife and children. Telling him that after learning the truth, Hack Quain suddenly became extremely agitated under the cheers of his friends. Suddenly explode with great strength, tearing the iron chain apart. Then he jumped up and punched the king to death. Seeing this, he immediately opened the door and released the 3 fierce wolves. When he rushed up to attack Hack Quain very quickly, his body was bitten to the point that his mouth could not heal, but in the end, he could not defeat Hack Quain. Immense strength, he would tear the wolf mouth open using his own strength and his bare hands, destroy the 3 beasts, then open all the door of the house and rush out to release everyone. Eurus saw that something was wrong and immediately ordered his subordinates to stop the soldiers from facing him. He gently used his hands to make them fall. Finally, Eurus he was forced to the point where he had no way to retreat. Panicked and afraid, he still asked Hack Quain to forgive him. But his enemy killed his wife. Why didn't he tell her that Hack Quain long pent-up anger was finally released at this moment? His hand grabbed Eurus' neck and then angrily threw it onto the throne. He used Eurus' dagger to end his life. Feud of killing his wife and children was finally reported, but before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he was assassinated by the enemy. The enemy was about to attack him. Fortunately, his friend came in time to save them. As soon as they left the place, the old king brought his army to surround him and tried to convince the soldier he personally trained as under his command. The old king oppression made everyone not dare to disobey the king orders. He took advantage of the princess' son life to threaten them and raise their hand to endure the glare. His friend immediately killed the knife-wielding man and then risked their life, successfully rescued the boy. But unfortunately Demetrius was pierced by a sharp arrow through his body. Hack Quain hugged his body and retreated to the place steps. His accomplice above pushed the cauldron of fire down to prevent the enemy from attacking. The fiery fire formed. The curtain was used to increase the distance between them. The king ordered the soldiers to stand up and rush through the fire screen. All the soldiers picked up their weapons and rushed forward. Seeing that they were in danger, Hack Quain friend pushed again. The cauldron of fire was even bigger, and before they could rush forward, they were repelled by a huge fire. The king ordered all the soldiers to put up their shield and attack in the second round, only to see Hack Quain eyes locked tightly in front of a huge stage, using his shoulder to lift up the statue base. Everyone who saw this scene was extremely surprised. Hack Quain exerted all his might, exploding with his enormous power, following his resounding voice. The ground shook slightly and cracked the heavy statue, more than 1,000 tons were mentioned by him. Kwang saw this scene and all the volunteers scrambled to run away. The old king still commanded the soldiers to stabilize the army, but in the next second, the giant statued head was crushed. The smoke and dust passed. Hack Quain stood proudly in front of everyone. Everyone at the scene was overwhelmed by his godlike strength, conquering everyone. Everyone dropped their weapons. Hui Bai surrounded to him, chanting, "Athletes, here comes the movie, it over." Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new movie.